Good afternoon or good morning to everybody over in Australia and New Zealand. And I'd just like to start off by sharing some slides with you today. Okay, so basically today I'm going to be talking about your life. And it is a really special time at the moment because it's a time of reflection and it's a time of looking at yourself and looking what's around you, looking at your dynamics, your family, looking at what can optimize you in terms of your body or your mind, your performance, and also the new wave of altering your gene structure. And before I start, I want to just emphasize in 2020, healthy living has taken on a new paradigm. And now we know that we have to do effective hand washing, 20 seconds, and that means proper hand washing, so that means between the fingers. And as a medical person, it's really important. You know, I've been taught to scrub properly for operations and things like that. So hand washing is a very vital thing. Just with soap and water, effective hand washing is the best thing you can do to get rid of bugs. Isolation from others, but while maintaining connections. It's very important to have your friends still around you, have virtual meetings, have virtual drinks, have virtual dinner parties, because for your mental health, it's really important that you are not fully isolated. Physically, yes, mentally, no. And also exercising. Exercise within your boundaries. So don't start running on your treadmill and trying to do marathons if you're not used to that. Start to do gentle things with your body, but listen to your body. Start to go inside and listen to where it's all coming from. Eat healthily. We've got very limited supplies in terms of our food at the moment, so choose wisely. And also drink plenty of healthy water that is not too polluted and hasn't got any additives in it. And the last thing is, if you are sick or if you've got a fever of over 38 degrees, sore throat and dry cough, please get medical attention. And as Pam said, my name is Gail Peterson. I am an anaesthetist in New Zealand. I spend half my time in Auckland and the other half in the far north. And I'm a medical doctor and I train specialists. So I have another 5 years or so 13 years in training. So I really feel I've got a good handle on the physiological processes of the body and also the pharmacological processes, because I give a lot of drugs and I give a lot of drugs intravenously. So I understand the human body. So being a doctor is actually not that important to me, because I think that the 6 best doctors of what I've listed here. Fresh air. What do we get from fresh air? We get oxygen. Oxygen is so important. If we don't have oxygen, we die. Clean water. 60% of our bodies are made up of water. It's important to have clean, healthy water. Sunshine, getting outside, getting your vitamin D levels up, really important. Sleeping well, that's the time when your body has its time for rejuvenation and the enzymes and the proteins are manufactured, so they're not using energy within digestion or brain function. Restful sleep is a very important health rejuvenation property. Diet, you'll get your vitamins and your minerals from a good diet. And remember, if you do moderate exercise, you're going to get endorphins. What are they? They're the feel-good enzymes, the feel-good compounds that make you feel as if you can just hit this day running. But today, I'm going to talk about a 7th doctor, and that's genetic health. Another word for that is biohacking, because this is the future. This is the way that we are going to progress forward. And as I said, oxygen is essential for life. And I use oxygen in my day-to-day practice every day. And if I don't, my patients die. So it is important. Why is it important? Well, when we combine it with food, we get energy. And that energy in the body is in the form of ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, which is made in little bean-like structures in our cells called mitochondria. So oxygen and food is converted to energy. Now, the problem with this is it has byproducts, and the byproducts are called oxygen-free radicals or oxygen-reactive species. And you might say, well, so what? Well, oxygen-free radicals and oxygen-reactive species are the ones that are in the middle of this circle. On the left, we've got a healthy atom. You see it's got a balanced outer electron layer, 2 nice electrons there. The free radicals, they're missing one. So they're cross, they're angry, they whiz around the body, they do cell damage. They want to be able to get a stable electron, and they cannot do it. So what do? They damage cells. They damage cells. So if you look on the left with a nice normal cell, it's got a beautiful outline, it's got a nucleus which is egg-shaped and nicely rounded. If you look at the middle diagram, when the free radicals attack the cells, it loses its integrity. It loses the organelles that are inside the cells, and the nucleus all becomes deformed. So free radicals cause cell damage. Let's add to that environmental, physical, and psychological stresses. Now, environmental stresses, what have we got these days? Well, we have got herbicides, we have got pesticides, we've got Wi-Fi, we've got microwave ovens. Physical, over-exercise, psychological, and we've got a lot of psychological stresses at the moment. People who are in all sorts of fear states, emotional states, being worried about jobs, worried about relationships, worried about how they're going to look after their children. So this all presents with more oxidative stress, and that's toxic to us. It's really toxic to our body because we cannot deal with it. Because we don't have antioxidant enzymes, we lose the ability after we're about 25 to manufacture what we need to do to cope with antioxidant stresses. So remember, if we haven't got the enzymes, we add environmental stresses, psychological stresses, and toxins, what do we get? We get more free radicals, more cell damage, and what is that? That's aging. And we know that. We know that as we get older, our cells disintegrate. And the reason is because we have more free radical damage. So the whole thing I'm talking about today is a word called oxidative stress, and it's all about a balance. And we know that if you live life in moderation and in balance, that things are easier. Yeah, sure, you can alter that balance by having a good diet, get out in the sun, nice extra vitamins and minerals, but you cannot deal with the amount of free radicals that your body is exposed to on a daily basis. It just will not happen after the age of about 25. That is oxidative stress. So what does it do? What are the effects of oxidative stress? And have a look, if you need to Google, as everyone does these days, Google oxidative stress and have a look to see what impact it has on the body. I've shown you what impact it has at the cellular level. Well, cells make up tissues, which make up organs, which make up body systems. So it means that the whole of your body will suffer because of oxidative stress. And it doesn't need to be necessarily your brain or your gut or your skin or your immunity. All of these systems suffer. Remember, oxidative stress damages cells. Let's have a look at that diagram on the right-hand side. Do you see how the cells disintegrating even more now? They can't replicate normally. They can't perform normally. They can't make the enzymes and the proteins that you require for normal bodily functioning. It's just not going to happen. So my question is, how can we address this imbalance? How can we counteract oxidative stress? And we've talked about having a healthy lifestyle, eating plenty of fruit and vegetables, or taking antioxidant supplements. But what I want to talk about today is, why would we take them when we can actually make them ourselves? And this is the new wave, because we can make our own antioxidant enzymes called biohacking through a pathway called the Nrf2 pathway. Now, this is a newish pathway. It wasn't around when I was at medical school. So it is a new science, and it's a new way that we can explain a lot of what's going on at the cellular level. And in fact, Washington State University in 2015 said, and I want you to read this, and I want you to read this twice, Nrf2 may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and most extraordinary preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. This is a reputable university. This is an incredibly powerful statement. We have not seen breakthroughs like this since the advent of penicillin. So we know that we're onto something different here. This is a different way of looking at cellular health, and to be associated with a company who is at the forefront of this is just so incredibly exciting. And look, I can't be more passionate about it, and I'll go about it on more shortly. So the whole science is called nutrigenomics, and that's the study of food and food compounds on gene expression. Break it down: nutrition or nutrients; genomics, which are genes, the study of nutrition on your genes. And remember, your genes are the building blocks of your DNA. The DNA is where all the coded sequences are. You get half from your mother, half from your father. So the genetic expression says who you are and what you're going to make in your body and what you're going to be susceptible to later on in your life. If we use antioxidants like blueberries, red wine, what you'll find is that the effect on the Nrf2 pathway is about a 1-to-1. If we use activation of the Nrf2 pathway, it's 1,000,000-to-1. So this is why it's so important to understand that this Nrf2 pathway is incredibly powerful. And there have been so many studies on Nrf2 pathways now. It's activation. It's not supplementation. So we are seeing a pathway within the cells which is activating to moderate your genes. And in fact, it regulates about 400 genes. And today I'm just talking about the antioxidant genes, but there are many more. And we know that the press is starting to get hold of it. They're talking about DNA is not your destiny. They're talking about genetics personalizing medicine. So it is new. There have been independent studies done on the product Protandim, which I'm going to be talking about today, from independent places like the American Heart Association, Louisiana State University. I think we now are up to about 31 published studies. Now, to get a published study, it's not something that the company does. These are independent. And I challenge you to have a look at any other product that's around these days that has this many independently reviewed studies. This is amazing, and I have been through virtually all of these studies, and there is a real very big bulk evidence to support this product and support its effects on the Nrf2 pathway. So let's have a look at what the Nrf2 pathway actually is. This is a human cell. And you can see it's got a nice round cell wall. The purple thing is a nucleus, and the little bean things, which I talked to you about before, which produce all the ATP or the energy, are the mitochondria. Now, the Nrf2 is actually a protein which lives around the cell wall. So it's there already. But when it's activated, what happens is a series of complex chemical reactions take place. And eventually they make their way to the nucleus, and at the nuclear level they produce proteins which induces a change in your genes. And then the genes are given instructions to be able to make enzymes, to make proteins, and to be able to function at their best ability. Simplified way of looking at it, but I think it gives you the overall understanding of where Nrf2 comes from and what it actually does. And let's have a look. Protandim Nrf2. This reduces oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days. And that's not just something that's been plucked out of the air. This was a study that was done on people, just ordinary people from age 30 to 80. They took blood tests every day, had them on Protandim. And do you know, after the 30 days, you couldn't tell the difference in oxidative stress levels between the 80-year-old and the 30-year-old. So this is huge. And what is it made of, you might say? Well, it's natural. It's all completely natural. Turmeric, we know that's a great anti-inflammatory. Milk thistle extract, we know that's a really good liver cleanser. Green tea, great antioxidant. Bacopa and ashwagandha, they've been around for years as Ayurvedic herbs, great for mental clarity, hormonal balance. All natural ingredients put together in a certain way with certain concentrations to have the effect on the Nrf2 pathway. And if we look at them separately, and this is just a little bit confusing, but if you look at the little colored squares on the bottom, these are all the individual agents. So you might say, well, I'm just going to go to the health food shop and I'm going to put them all together and I'll take them myself and I'll get the same effect. Not going to work that way. If you look at the red big column on the extreme right, that is the effect of all of these compounds together in a specific patented combination. 18 times more effective than the individual agents alone. So we know not only does this affect the Nrf2 pathway, but it affects it 18 times more than the individual agents alone. And let's have a look, at the bottom right graph, which is broccoli. Now, the axis going up is how much it affects the Nrf2 activation. And this comes from a study paper that was done on Protandim. And we see that broccoli is quite good because you get a bit of Nrf2 induction. And we know that greens are good for you, okay? We know that. But look at the top left where Protandim is. Look, same scale, look at the degree of Nrf2 potency compared with broccoli. Huge. And that's what we've got here. We've got something that is quite different. It is unique, and you're not going to find it anywhere else as a natural compound. So you might say, well, what does it do? Well, it improves your sleep and your sleep quality, reduces pain in the body, and helps with low mood, anxiety, healthy liver function and digestion. People have less brain fog, and the most important thing, it'll protect you against oxidative stress once it's under control. Why is it different? Well, it's patented and it's got peer-reviewed studies, and those are really, really important. Remember, I've talked about how it combats oxygen-free radicals, which damage your cells. It's working at that level. It also produces glutathione, and that's another thing I want you to go back and Google as well. Protandim increases glutathione by 300%. This is the master antioxidant. And if you can produce a glutathione in your body, you can't actually take it orally because it's broken down in the stomach very quickly. If you can increase it by 300%, this is huge. And please have a look at that, because this is what I think we need to take forward in terms of showing people how effective this can be. The second one is the biohack number 2, and that's the Protandim Nrf1. Now, remember I showed you the little bean structures when I looked at the cellular health. This supports mitochondrial health. Now, mitochondria are the breathing or the lungs of every cell. They actually breathe for yourself, give you the energy, and they make the proteins to make sure that they are replicated properly. You'll find that the organs in your body, which are very energetic, have huge numbers of mitochondria in each individual cell because they have such an important function. So what is this one made out of? Well, it's made out of acetyl-carnitine, it's coenzyme Q10, grape extract, quercetin, and alpha-lipoic acid. These are all now, even more evidence is coming out now that these things are extremely powerful. I've just read today about quercetin and how good it is at counteracting oxidative stress, and how good it is at working together with the Nrf2 as well. So remember, the mitochondria are the breathing part of this cell. Nrf1, Protandim Nrf1, it repairs and replenishes the mitochondria, and you get more energy. It improves your general well-being, and it's really good with people with stressed lives. And I must actually emphasize that all of these products are 100% vegetarian. They're free of gluten, dairy, wheat, and yeast. So this has got a unique blend of ingredients. And what we've got here is we've got something that will work on the key metabolic genes to give you healthy mitochondrial function and proper key nutrients that you need. So I've talked about Nrf2 synergizer at the genetic level, at your genes, and I've talked about the Nrf1 energizer at the mitochondrial level for optimal health and well-being. If you look at this, what do we want to do? We want to live healthy for as long as we can. So our goal is die young as late as possible. You want to have your health span as long as possible. And as if you can see from the top line, we want the health span to go further along and then come down, rather than dropping very quickly as the one and the other graph does. So ultimately, what have we got ultimately? Protandim Nrf1, Protandim Nrf2, these actually work together. So it's interesting that the Nrf2 and the Nrf1 also work together at the mitochondria, and the Nrf1 opens up the mitochondria so the Nrf2 can get in and work at the genetic level in the mitochondria as well. So together, these two are the ultimate in cellular health and protection. So my takeaway message is, let's age well and keep healthy. And today I want to ask you, which of those tools in your doctor's bag are you taking home today? And which of those tools are you going to concentrate on going forward now that we have more time to start to have a breath and look at what we're doing? And keep healthy.